Hi everyone, it's Ashley at the Silver Bay Public Library, and I am back with our last read aloud for the summer. I know, how sad. But this is our last week of the summer reading program, and thus our activities will be coming to an end. And that's for the story time and the other educational content on our program. Though these videos will be around for however long, and you'll be able to watch them at any time. So, always feel free to go back and check out our past videos. But for today, I'll be reading and finishing Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and, as I say, retold by Chris Tate and illustrated by Lucy Corvino. Not a lot of photos, I'll show you what I can. I don't watch these recordings back, so I'm not sure if you guys can see them, so I apologize if they're blurry or I don't hold them long enough, but you can always pause the video as well. So, we are on chapter 22, The Black Spot Returns. So let's dive into the action and see what else this story has to show us, I guess. We then waited for the council to return, and when it did, Silver was friendly and familiar. "Nice breeze, Jim," he said, and I watched him before turning my eye to the men outside. When they returned, they came slowly, looking desperate and mean. "Come on, I won't bite you," said Silver. "Hand it over." And with that, they gave him the black spot. "Why, you've cut this out of a Bible. Now you're cursed." That said, they turned to each other and began to fight. He turned the spot over and read the word deposed, which meant he was no longer to be called captain. But first Silver insisted they read off his charges. "You've made a mess of this cruise," said George Mary, "and you let the enemy out of this trap. Third, you wouldn't let us chase after them, and fourth, there's this boy." "Well, now," said Silver, "it's clear to me who wants to be captain. But let me answer your charges, I made a mess of this cruise, did I? Well, you know what I wanted, but you led them against me, didn't you, George? Who crossed me?" With this, George looked away. "You dare to accuse me, trying to be a captain over me, you that sank us all. You're not even a real pirate. You'd have done better as a tailor, and you have no idea how badly off we are right now. As for the boy, he's our hostage. I'm not going to kill our only hostage. He might be our last chance. And as for the deal I made, you would have done the same. Part of it is that the doctor returns each day to tend to your wounds. And there's more. I've got something that will tell you why." And we have Silver here, angry as ever. "I got something that will tell you why." With that, he dropped the treasure map on the floor, and they all fell on it, crying and shouting like children. They behaved as if they had already found the goal and taken it home safe. "Now, it was I found the treasure. Who is a better man than that? But I resign. Elect whoever you want. I'm done with it." But the three chanted, "Silver, Silver, Silver," as George looked on. It was clear he was still captain. Dick looked nervous about having cut his Bible. Silver turned it over in his hands and tossed it to me. I have it still. "Well, George," said Silver, "looks like you'll have to wait to be captain." And with that, he sent George out on lookout while the crew and I turned to sleeping. I saw that we were nearing the end of this terrible game. I could not see what would become of us. I could not see why my friends had given Silver the map. But I knew that he would do all in his power to save his miserable life. My heart was sore for him, for though he was evil, anyone could see that only darkness awaited him. Chapter 23, On Parole. We were all awakened by the doctor's arrival, and I admit I was ashamed to look him in the face. When he came, Silver was bright and merry with him. "Hello, doctor, top of the morning to you, sir," he cried. "Your patients are all doing well. Come and see." He carried on like this as the doctor came up the hill. And we have a small surprise of a little stranger in our camp." With this, the doctor stopped. "Not Jim?" "Why, of course," said Silver. With this, the doctor looked shocked, but insisted on examining his patients before turning his attention to me. "I consider it my duty, as mutineer's doctor, to keep you all healthy enough to hang when we return to England." After he had attended to the various ills of the pirates, he asked to speak to me alone. Again, the men protested, and Silver turned on him. "Silence!" he roared like a lion. They all cowered before him. "Now, doctor, we're all grateful for your help with our ills. Hawkins, will you give your word that you won't run away?" This I did. Silver then asked the doctor to walk our way down the hill, and he would walk me out. Once the doctor was gone, the men turned to barking and yelling until Silver quieted them down. "Do you want me to break our truce on the very day we go to look for the treasure? You fools! Dolts! We'll break it when it's our time." With this, he walked me out the door, where we made our way toward the doctor. Once there, his face changed entirely. Now, Doctor, I have saved this boy's life, and I am now only here to save mine. I can only hope you'll assist us in both cases. Why, John, said the doctor, you're not afraid? John admitted that he was, and said he was bound to hang. But he hoped that the doctor would remember he had done some good in saving me. With that, Silver left me with the doctor, who first scolded me until he heard my incredible story. You found the ship? He asked. Why, it's been you all along who's been saving us, Jim. And with that, he tried to encourage me to break my word and come with him. But I wouldn't do it. I had given an oath, and so he turned his attention to Silver. A word of advice. Don't try to find that treasure. I have to, answered Silver, or they'll kill me themselves. Well, said the doctor, then I warn you to beware of high winds at sea. Those squalls can be deadly, and when we return, if we get out of this adventure alive, I pledge to do everything I can to save you. With that, Silver beamed with joy and thanks. The doctor then shook my hand and took his leave of us at a brisk pace. Chapter 24. The Treasure Hunt, Flint's Pointer. Jim, said Silver, if I have saved your life, you've saved mine. I saw how the doctor asked you to run. You didn't, and that saved me. Now look, I don't like this business. I don't know what the doctor meant about the squalls, and I don't like our hunt today. Let's stick close. With that, we returned to breakfast, where once again Silver's manner changed. He became loud and boastful and said that the doctor had told him the ship was hidden. He made wild plans that they would soon have the treasure and be on the high seas with me as hostage. The men laughed and seemed ready for anything. I knew that Silver still had his foot in both camps, and I worried that his crew should find out his new loyalty to the doctor, and that he and I would have to fight them off. It would be a sore sight. He with one leg and me, a boy, against 5 powerful pirates. Also, I worried that I could not make out the actions of my friends. Why had they left the fort and given up the map? And what was the warning about the squalls about? I had many doubts in my mind as we set on our journey. Each man wore several weapons, and Silver led the sorry party with 2 rifles, 2 pistols, a cutlass sword, and Captain Flint on his shoulder jabbering. We made a fine picture as we headed out. As we followed the directions, we looked to the chart, and the men argued over which tall tree at the point might be the one mentioned on the map. Each picked his favorite, and Silver told them we'd soon enough know who was right when we arrived. We walked on easily, and then, bending to our left, went up a crest. We now moved into denser jungle, and suddenly we heard one of the crew's voice rise in terror. We all went up to him as a group, and found him staring down at the skeleton of a man lying by a tree. What way is that for bones to lie? Asked Silver. It ain't natural. With that, we all looked at the skeleton and saw that it was laid out straight, which seemed odd. Then Silver pulled out his compass. He took a bearing along the straight line of the bones and shook his head. I thought so. This here's a pointer. This is a jolly joke of Flint's. This is one of the men he killed. Why, look at his hair. That would be Allardyce. You remember him, Tom? Aye, aye, Tom answered. He owed me money. I never liked that Flint, answered another man. The way he raged and cursed and sang only that one song. He carried the jinx. Come on now, said Silver. Enough of that kind of talk. Think ahead to the treasure and let's move. We did so, but the men walked more closely and quietly. Gone was their carefree talk. The seaman's bones and Flint's terrifying pointer had made their spirits fall. Chapter 25. The Voice Among the Trees. The men were now exhausted and rattled and sat down at the first opportunity. They all turned to talk of Flint. He was so ugly and his temper was vicious. Well then, said Silver, you should thank your stars he's dead. Then, all at once, we heard a voice call out. 15 men on a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum. The men were instantly terrified. It's Flint, they cried, back from the dead. And then the voice called out, fetch me my sword, Darby. Those were his last words, one of the men cried out. The pirates stayed rooted to the ground, each man crying that he wanted to go and that they were afraid of ghosts. Dick, who was the man with fever and sickness in the group, read from his Bible and seemed about to go mad, but Silver stood his ground. That voice has an echo, he said. Ghosts don't have echoes, that's someone made of flesh and blood. This seemed to bring the men around. Hi, said one. That didn't sound like Flint. It sounded like someone else. It sounded like Ben Gunn. And it was clear none was afraid of Ben Gunn, even if they thought him dead. Even as a ghost, they were not concerned about him. Soon the men were back on track and turning their attention toward the climb ahead. Silver pulled me by the rope by which they had tied my hands, and I could see his mood change. I could tell his mind was on the treasure. He scowled my way as he pulled me along. I knew then that all thought of mercy was gone from him. He would try to find the treasure in his ship and slit the throat of any man who stood in his way. I was shaken and tired, and Dick continued to babble madly behind as we walked in the blazing heat. I thought of the many men who had been killed here by Flint, and thought I would be next. Suddenly, we were in a clearing and heard Mary shouting out as we moved forward. We ran to him, and Silver doubled his pace until we all came to a halt. Before us was a great hole, and we could tell that it was not new. The sides were caved in and grass had grown in. At its bottom was a broken pick and bits of packing crate from the Walrus, Flint's ship. But all was clear, too. The hoard had been found and raided, and the 700,000 pounds of treasure were gone. Now the men were in a rage. They all yelled out and cursed, but with Silver the change was quicker. He turned and handed me a pistol, and we quickly stepped off to the side. "So," I said, "you've changed sides again?" He paid me no mind, and the men jumped in the pit to find only one single coin. They nimbly climbed out and turned to Silver, their eyes spelling murder. "So this is the wood-legged fool who's... I can't turn the pages in this book. "So this is the wooden-legged fool who's led us here," said George Mary. Well, look at his face. He knew all along there was no treasure. They all glared at Silver, who spoke up. "So back to seeking the post of captain, eh, George?" They stood across from us, and we looked toward them, pistols ready. "There's 2 of you, one a cripple and one a boy, whose heart I will have, and there's 5 of us," said George. But just then shots rang out, and 2 of the men dropped, with Mary falling into the pit. Long John quickly fired both rounds into him and said, "I reckon I settled you, George." Suddenly the doctor, Gray, and Ben Gunn joined us with their smoking pistols. We ran quickly through the woods to cut off the escaped men from the boats. Soon enough, we found they had gone in the wrong direction. We took a rest while the doctor explained what had happened. Ben, in his year-long wanderings, had found the skeleton and the treasure. He had dug up the gold and transported it to his cave only 2 months before we arrived on the island. It was the afternoon of the attack when the doctor had gotten this confession from him. The next morning, after seeing the boat gone, the doctor had gone to Silver and given him the map. After all, it was useless now, and he had given him the supplies in order to gain our friend's safe passage to Ben's cave, where there was salted goat in great supply. He also wished to keep the treasure secure. That morning they had headed back to cut us off, knowing that we would seek the treasure. Ben had run ahead, and remembering his shipmates' superstitions, had called out and frightened them. "Lucky at Hawkins," said Silver, "or no one had come for me." Everyone agreed with him, and we made... Everyone agreed with him, and we made our way off around to the point of the boats. We then paddled by the mouth of Ben's cave and saw the squire waving to us. We also saw the Hispaniola floating offshore, raised by the oncoming tides. We pulled into the cove, and there the squire scowled and cursed Silver, but let him be. Then all entered the cove and saw Captain Smollett resting beside a fire and great heaps of gold and treasure. So many had died to find it, and so many had died to claim it. Ships and bodies lay at the bottom of the sea on account of it. "I don't think we'll go to sea again, shall we, Jim?" said the doctor, and with that we fell to eating a delicious meal with food gathered from the boat. Silver sat back and seemed again to be the man who had first appeared to me, helpful, quiet, and courteous, the perfect seaman. A Fond Farewell, Chapter 26. We make our way home. Well, a fond farewell. We make our way home. Chapter 26. Things are getting goofy here at the end of the week. We spent the next days carrying our vast treasure into the boats and then onto the Hispaniola. As I was too young to do the work of the stronger men, I was given the task of filling canvas sacks with the treasure so that the others could carry it away. One by one, I filled each bag with the precious stuff, sealing them at the top with a large sailor's needle and thread. It was long, hard work, but worth the effort. We worried about the 3 remaining pirates, but thankfully heard little of them. The treasure was a collection of coins from around the world. Until that moment, I had no idea that money came in such a variety of forms and styles. Along with the French and English coins I had seen before, there were piles of Spanish doubloons and Venetian ducats. Even stranger were the square coins with holes in the middle from faraway China that perhaps Marco Polo had come across on his journeys. I sifted through them, letting them fall like autumn leaves through my fingers. One night we heard the raving of the mutineers. For our part, Silver had been treated civilly, but kept at a distance, like a dog leashed to a post. No man would hear him out, for although he played kind, we knew he was not to be trusted. We decided we must maroon the mutineers. There was no point in bringing them home to hang. So we loaded Ben's cave with a good stock of sail, as well as tools, food, and other supplies. Then we readied our ship. As we were leaving, we passed by the three men in the shallows. We could still make out ashore, begging us to take them along. We hailed them, and the doctor told them of the small stores of food we had left. Still they begged, and when it was clear we would not stop, they fired on us, and just missed Silver himself. Soon the craggy peaks were fading from view, and I felt a great joy to be leaving Treasure Island behind me. We were short of men, and each had to do his part. The captain still needed rest, and was giving his orders from a cot on deck. In time we reached Spanish America and greeted the people there with great joy. We tasted their fruits and vegetables, and the captain found another English shipmaster with whom he was invited to spend the evening telling of our adventures. When we returned to the Hispaniola, we found Ben Gunn alone on deck, telling us that Silver had taken a small craft and some small sacks of treasure and made off. I think we all felt relieved when we knew he had gone for good. To make a long story short, we got a few good hands on board there and made our way home just before a search party was sent to rescue us. We all got a fair share of the treasure and spent it in various ways. Gray saved his money, gained an education, and got married. He is now a part owner of a full-rigged ship. Ben Gunn lost his £1,000 within 3 weeks and was back begging on the 4th. Our good captain retired. Of Silver, we heard no more. I imagined he located his wife and is still living with his parrot, Captain Flint. As for me, though there may still be gold on Treasure Island, I shall never return. When I have bad dreams, they are of the booming surf and of the sharp voice of Captain Flint ringing in my ears. Pieces of 8. Pieces of 8. And that is the end of Treasure Island. So, thankfully they got the treasure after all, though it was definitely quite a struggle for them. But, if you liked this book, there are plenty more wonderful books and classics in the library, so make sure to come check them out, keep reading. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. I enjoyed reading these stories for you these last few weeks, so thank you so much. And don't feel bad if you want to watch them again. So, thanks for listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and bye-bye.